Welcome to Humbot, your podcast where we discuss application of AI agents in business environments. You'll hear from professionals who are builders, buyers, users, and thought leaders in the agentic AI space. Today, in this episode, we will talk about the role of agentic AI and the importance of building a community, talking about training and enablement, and talking about people change strategies. To do that, I have with me the inimitable Sandipan. Sandipan, welcome to Humbot.
Hi, thank you, Sanjeev, for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. And maybe Sandipan, just to get started, a short introduction from yourself.
Sure. I'm a lead data analytics and AI solutions architect at AWS. And what that means is I get to work with leaders in our customers' organizations, helping them think about data and AI strategy for the long term from the people, process, and technology perspective. But I also go to the engine room and talk to engineers and work with them to help them implement best practices with data analytics and AI solution architecture so that they can move from experimentation to production at scale. One of the primary responsibilities is helping them not only unblock short-term challenges, but then design their system so that they can scale in the long term.
So let's just dive in straight into the topic. But again, just to ground the listeners, what is your view of agentic AI as a term?
So we have known artificial intelligence for a long time, right? I think the space with agentic AI is a subset of that whole bigger space of AI, and then has derived from generative AI, which is again a subset of AI. The main premise of agentic AI systems is to be able to automatically critique and reason their activities and make decisions without human intervention. I think one of the most popular examples are autonomous vehicles, right? I was in San Francisco a couple of months ago. I took a ride on a Waymo, and it's an autonomous taxi service, if you call it. It was wonderful. This was my first time, and I was sitting in the car, I think, and a really interesting point came to my mind is, although it's an autonomous car, there is no driver driving it. When you sit, the user experience is so seamless that you are not afraid of not having a driver on the driver's seat. And that's really important with agentic systems, is how you deliver the user experience. And there was also live support available. So at one point, the car couldn't make a decision on itself because there was an exit that was closed and it was going round and round in the circle. I could, on a click of a button, talk to someone, human in the loop, who could jump in and re-steer the vehicle in the right direction. So I think that gives you a complete understanding of how agentic systems would work, where you have a really seamless user experience and user interaction capability, but also human in the loop when needed as these systems perform in production.
And very quickly, I think we're getting into a space where agentic AI, or the value of agentic AI, is a function of the user experience. Yes. More than the technical ability. So that's a great takeaway.
That's what I've realized so far, to be honest.
In your experiences, what are the kinds of decisions the businesses are making in terms of evaluating agentic products?
If you look at businesses, some of these businesses have got this fear of missing out. They want to apply something with AI in their products, in their organization. And in doing so, what I've observed is they miss some critical points. So what I see is as they evaluate these agents, the first and foremost concern that they have got is security. They can easily go and ask questions to AI, but in enterprises, these systems wouldn't work if they don't connect to them to business relevant context, their customer data. And one of the most frequent questions that I get from enterprises is, how are we going to protect our customer data? The other thing that they want to evaluate is around governance. So again, it is a part of the first point, but I think governance encapsulates a wider area. So, in terms of, is AI going to give harmful information to my customers? Is it going to give false information to my customers? All right. Is it going to misdirect my customers to a different workflow? The third most frequent thing is around training. How are our employees going to adjust with it? How are they going to adopt to these agentic systems? Is that going to replace their job? Are they going to, how am I going to make money out of AI without replacing the humans in my organization? I think training is really important because AI is still not at the maturity level where it would replace every job. Secondly, I don't think in production systems businesses are thinking about replacing humans with AI at that scale. Yes, there might be some small tasks where they could possibly replace some skills, but not the total package skills that a human would bring, right? So it's not about just that task that the human does or the AI does, but it's also about the reasoning, the context, the empathy a human would bring. I've talked to some executives in some of these companies, and what they're saying is, if AI can reduce some mundane admin tasks that my team members do, I could have them talk to my customers and understand what the customer needs are better. They could find more time to interact with the customer, understand the customer experience, so that we can improve our products better. They're not really thinking about, I will take this person out of my organization and then bring AI in there.
Interesting. And it sounds like there is a focus, yes, on productivity and automation, but there is a corresponding focus on reallocation of talent for scaling, for doing things way outside, which kind of augurs well because that is the real potential of all this tech. This experience kind of resonates with how we see our experiences from Humbot. Obviously, we offer AI agents, but not for once have we seen a replacement. If at all, we've seen an augmentation or new creations. So we've seen agents that are deployed across a specific task or a set of tasks, or even tasks that involve a team working together encoded into an agent. Now that agent goes and scales off the same team outcome across another construct, allowing the organizations to do more for less. So if I could come back to the point around training, you talked about the importance of training, which is well understood. Whenever we talk about training, the word community gets attached
Yep.
to it. And I think community building is kind of the first step when it comes to training. So in your view, with AI agents percolating businesses in future, how do you see the importance of a community, and what should business leaders do to shape their own communities?
I'm a huge believer in the community initiative. In AWS, we have got technical field communities where internally we bring in technical people from different domains into one common interest. And what I've learned from these kind of community engagements is how important it becomes for organizations not only to improve skills within the organization, but also scale, right? And with agentic AI, it becomes even more important, especially with the concerns on how to embed humans to work with agentic AI. The strategies for leaders is to go beyond just doing webinars and presentations and training in one-to-many mode, to think about how they can create spaces where their employees can collaborate and co-create, right? And why I say that is because when you create a community, one of the major problems that you will face with communities is there will be only 5 to 8% of users or community members who are active in the community, and the others are not. And the primary cause for that is because there are no engaging mechanism for them to engage. If you keep delivering training sessions through communities and have a forum like a Slack channel, not everyone will participate. So you have to bring people in together so that they can collaborate. So in terms of strategy, you have to think how you can create workspaces where people from different areas in the organizations can come into a team. And why I say different areas? Because with AI, it's not only technical, right? Uh, Agentic AI is moving into businesses. So you need to have business users, people from sales, marketing, HR, coming into these communities and collaborating with the technical folks who understand AI or maybe can learn AI quickly, right? So you create this cross-functional uh, teams as such within the communities, and then create this workspace where they can collaborate, and then give them challenges that they can create. So it could be either solving an internal business problem where they can embed an AI agent to improve the process, make it faster, make it cheaper. And then when they build them, a leader should celebrate those wins, right? So talk about those stories in all hands, talk about those stories in quarterly meetings, give some recognition to these teams who are working. So I think that's why community building is important.
I heard this concept of velocity of value in with one of the previous speakers. They talked about the way to measure ROI of agentic AI is obviously to get all automations done, look at cost saving, time saving. But as you look at a roadmap of having agents in production, have targets around deploying agents and track the velocity in which value is created. Now, connecting that to what you're saying, if we are to measure velocity, it's not one single team. It's cross-functional experts who come together and make the most of agents. And in order to get people together, they need to be trained and part of a community so that they understand what's their role when they come in.
Absolutely.
So clearly, there are great connections already forming between different speakers of this podcast. If you were to lead your own business, as a notional example, what would be the 2-3 things you would do to get a community off the ground?
So I will find out internal champions, people who are really interested. Maybe they are already in that role, like they're experts in AI, or they're not in that role, but they're interested. They, without any external force, by themselves go and explore these topics and bring these ideas. What I would do is create that workspace that I mentioned. So a platform where they can collaborate. So it could be a combination of, let's say, GitHub, where they can host codes and in a repository, but also combine that with some sort of master class, right? So where they would have access to knowledge sharing sessions. Combine them both into a co-collaborative workspace. Have these internal champions trained through train the trainer programs on how to talk about AI, how to run teams on AI, give them some advanced level training so that they can then go and run localized trainings either within their departments or cross-functional teams. So one of the things that we did in the community that I run within AWS is create what we call buddy groups. So what we do in buddy groups is we assign an expert as the lead of the squad. And that expert is normally an analytics SA whose primary job is analytics like me. And that person will collaborate with other members who are not an analytics expert. And they work in a group to deliver outcomes. So they would deliver content, they would deliver customer engagements, they would write blogs together. So that the leader becomes a mentor to these people, to the non-experts, as he or she brings their knowledge level up, right? So together they succeed. And when they succeed, in our quarterly meetings, we talk about these stories so that others get inspired. So if I had a business, this is the way I would go. And that, I think that is the way of driving community engagement rather than just having webinars or forum discussions.
I think we understand the role of community for cloud, which was a big change. I think the generative AI paradigm shift is no different. It's just yet another step up. So I think the role of a community is potentially equally But I would dare to say it's more important based on what I heard, because it widens the perimeter. Now you include business stakeholders in conversations, because the conversation is on business value. The other thing that we are realizing from our experiences is, as we know from AWS or other cloud stacks, there are multiple ways to get to one outcome using different set of services. If you have agents that are run by a small team, they could actually try those multiple approaches across different services and look out for what are the cost benefits versus the scalability issues in future and make considered decisions. It was a bottleneck before, because they would have to had wait days, months, years to get to one path of getting to value. But now with agents, they could pretty much spin off 3-4 parallel implementations with different architectures and make a considered decision at the end of the day. So I think having a community that's trained to think this way, to kind of fail fast, look at experimentation options within the workspaces, as you rightly termed, can be a great way to kind of get your workforce going. What are the kind of KPIs or measures that you would attach towards the trainer teams?
I think what we need to measure is, as these trainers go and train the teams, what kind of outcome these teams are delivering in terms of business processes. So, for example, are we actually seeing business processes getting embedded with AI agents? And if yes, how well they are adopted by the end users, right? Are we reducing cost? Are we making processes faster using AI agents? Are we actually achieving the goals that we would want to achieve in our business through these agentic AI systems? Is some of the outcomes that I would measure. So I went to one of this exec foundation training 2 weeks ago, and we were given this task on understanding a customer problem and coming out with how AI can build a solution and things like that. And we mostly used AI to come up with ideas for us. And then we discussed in expert groups that, okay, does it make sense or does it not make sense? Okay, how can we turn this into another idea? And all of this happened because AI was suggesting us ideas which were like triggering our brain and basically pushing us beyond that blocker that you usually have. Previously, when we did not have this kind of tools, I would go to this kind of meetings and you will spend half of these breakout sessions in trying to ideate, okay, what should we do this or should we do that? It doesn't make sense. But that ideation, there's a lot of blocker. Not everyone would participate. Not everyone would have a say. There will be 1 or 2 persons who would be talking. But now with this, I see it not only, it triggers that imagination in you, like it gives you some boilerplate or initial thinking about something. And then you say, okay, I think this is the right way of thinking. Let us take it further. And then it generates interest and everyone participates as well. I think this is really powerful that way.
So what would you say to builders or developers who are still blocking the use of agentic AI in their daily lives?
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? I think vibe coding has been the recent hype. So I have been, as you know, I have been working as a solution architect, especially in the strategy space. I'm not in professional services right now who would go and do hands-on. So I do a lot of coding myself now because AI helps me to jumpstart. AI helps me to unblock my brain. If you give me an application, I will write the vibe to AI and AI structures it and brings out the result and I can actually understand. So what I've realized is, again, to answer your questions, that where developers are insecure that AI will replace their job, is it's like AI writing something for you. So for example, when I do my LinkedIn posts, I would use AI so I have an idea, but I have a writer's block, right? I don't, okay, what should be my first sentence? And I'm blocked at that. I have an idea. I know, okay, I vaguely know what I need to write, but sometimes it doesn't come to mind. AI helps me structure that. Now, that doesn't mean that I will go and copy paste that. I will then apply my knowledge to improve it, to structure it, to make sure that it's correct, to make sure that it's honest, right? To make sure that it has got my tone, my authenticity in that post, although AI is helping me. Similar thing happens in code. When you write a code, if you don't really understand what AI is writing, what the code is, you cannot really think about how to secure that code. You cannot really think about, how to make it more performant. You can again ask the AI that question, and AI sometimes will go into this loop of, doing something, and if it doesn't make sense to you, then you will be in that loop with AI the whole day. So that doesn't really reduce your time to development, it actually increases it. So you need to understand your stuff. So again, when organizations bring in these kind of tools, I don't think that's going to replace developers. Developers will use it as a tool to reduce the time of typing 1,000 lines of code, but they will still be doing the reviews. They will still be doing the structuring. They will still be doing the critical thinking and the creative thinking to design these systems. I have heard some concerns around it. That is it going to replace a solution architect's job? Will a deployment tool, replace an engineer from doing that? And again, coming back to that point on organizations have started to use AI even as a chat assistant internally. People are realizing that this is a tool. This is not going to replace a human as such.
If you were to train a community to identify technical tools with the long term in mind, what would be the 2-3 mental models you'd want to get them used to?
So this is a question that I come across a lot, even with customers, and especially when I do my podcast in AWS, I ask similar question to customers because the data and AI market, as you know, is
crowded.
Is crowded with tools and services. I mean, one of my daily job is to basically talk to customers about helping them to choose the right tool and service, even within AWS. All right, and you think about third-party services, the partner services that we have got. It boils down to, I think, 3 key areas for me. The first one is understanding the user problem properly to see where the service or the tool sits in the solution, right? And when I say user problem, it's not only about the functional fit for the problem, but it's also about whether the organization or the team where the solution will sit, do they have the skills to work with the services that fit within that solution? So usually I engage with the engineering teams in my customer organizations. So when we select tools or services for our customers where the engineers will be responsible for maintaining and managing them, they need to have some sort of skills to do that. So functional fit and skills come in under this bucket of how is it actually solving the problem for the customer. The other is a lot comes towards pricing. Is it friendly to the budget that they have got? Is it something that's going to blow up their pockets? So that's something that every business talk about, because that is never going to change, right? So Jeff Bezos said that focus on the things that are not going to change in the next 10 years, because everyone focuses on what is going to change in the future, like what is going to be the trend. But having a performance system, having low-cost systems in my business is something that everyone
you would always
need,
expect,
right? So that's something that happens all the time. A lot of these builders and technical folks, they will just focus on building or developing. And rightly so today, because they are not being questioned. That's their job, right? They're doing it. But as some of these tasks reduce with AI, I'm pretty sure they will be asked, okay, where is your creativity? Where is, how are you thinking about the design? Why an AI agent that I'm developing today or we are developing as builders today would be relevant to the customers 5 years later? How will this architecture evolve? Have you put thought into this? So having empathy towards the customers, right? Understanding their problem, not only what they're facing today, but what will happen in the future. Understanding where the customer's organization is moving towards, what's their vision for the next 5 years. Connecting this technical stuff to the business problems. The folks who would have that ability they will shine more than the people who are just focused on the code and the technical things.
And I like how you phrased system design to system envisioning or visioning. Visioning
Yeah.
specifically, system visioning. Because what it just does is it kind of adds a thrust into you to think long term.
Yes.
Or even at least mid-term to start with,
Yeah.
and look at all the, and because there is time to do that now, as you just said, because
Absolutely.
Traditionally, yes, you were busy with the details going in, and that consumed so much time, which you don't need to.
Yeah.
So looking forward is one great way to think of it. Now, just kind of wrapping this conversation into a set of key metrics that you would want to think of for someone who is setting up a training team with regards to kind of agentic systems in an organization, or someone who is setting up an enablement path that's organization wide. How would you suggest that they challenge themselves by way of metrics?
So let's just take an example of we implement something for our internal users who would go and look into HR policy documents, right? So what we have observed as patterns in these organizations when they did that is the usage graph looks like this, right? So over time, the usage drops. So in the beginning, when you announce it, when leaders go and announce in the all hand, hey, we have got this tool, you can do this with this, there's interest. So a lot of users use it. But over time, very quickly, it dips like this. And then there are only maybe 10% of users who still continuously use it. Probably because they need it for their primary tasks. Probably because there is some daily job that they do that it requires them to use it. Other than that, for people where it's optional, they don't use it. So it's a long answer to say that the problem is with adoption is real. There's a term for this called AI tourism. So when you release an AI system or an AI based solution in an organization, there are AI tourists in the beginning who will test it and see how it works, but they probably don't know how to prompt it, right? So because they are not trained with prompt engineering techniques, so they don't get the best result out of it, right? So what we have seen customers do is they implement it, they see this graph, then say, oh, we need some enablement. Right? How can we train our users to actually use these systems? Which comes as an afterthought. And to be fair to everyone, like at that point, no one knew, right? No one knew. Everyone thought that, oh, this is awesome. This is magic. We do RAG solutions and then everyone will use it, right? But that didn't happen practically. And that's because the problem is not technical, it's operational. How do you embed that in your operations so that it's being used? So coming to the community question, like how to measure metrics in terms of community. So one is, first of all, you need to give your employees the enablement. So it's not only technical enablement. Technical is important. So for example, prompt engineering is one of the trainings that we do. At least last year we did very frequently with customers, right? Then there is, for technical teams, there is like multi-agent orchestration, how it works, what are the tools available, things like that. So some of the technical stuff that are relevant for some of these teams. Then creating some use case templates. So for example, when you work in communities, when you work in groups, there are some starter kits to start with, just for you to learn, right? What would be a starter kit for, like, let's say embedding? So you want to embed some AI system in your procurement process. What is a starter kit for? How do you plug and play with the AI agent in your process? At what point can you bring this agent to solve something within that process? Is something that the business users can be trained on, right? So once you have done this, the technical plus operational aspects of it, then you start measuring the success. The way to measure success is understanding, again, working backwards from the business impact. If there's a procurement system, how often are these AI agents being used in that workflow? So there has to be a observability process of understanding, if you build agents, are they actually being
delivering?
Are they delivering? Are they being worked upon? Are people using it? Right. So these are like quantitative metrics.
Will there always be enablement required, or just because this is a new technology facet that everyone's contending with, they need to kind of think of it as a short-term measure to get employees up to speed? Where do you stand?
So I strongly feel, as of today, I strongly feel is enablement required in a continuous basis. The main thinking behind that comes from the fact that AI policies and regulations are changing very frequently. So at least from that point of view, you need to make sure that your employees, it's like security training or data handling training that we do every 6 months or every year, whatever the policy is. You have to do this because you have to keep up with the change in regulation. It's changing fast. It will change, right? It will keep changing as the systems evolve. So I'm pretty sure from that angle, it will be needed very frequently. Maybe there's an open source model or a free tier model that you can probably securely use in your organization and do some experimentation. Build an MVP and show it to your leaders. Then who can go and adopt it? So that way, I think this kind of enablements have to be ongoing rather than a one-time or one-off exercise.
Very nice. And maybe just moving towards closing, has there been a time before where you've seen the need for business and technical teams to work as closely as they need to now, given the sprawl of AI agents and the use of them?
Yes, I mean it's much more urgent now. It's much more relevant to do that now. But I have been working with data for a long time. One of the more challenges that we face with data is again this disconnect between IT and the business. And that's because IT is responsible for building and delivering the system. They're not necessarily responsible for the data as a because they are not in the business. They wouldn't understand what the sales data has, or like what each column of that data set means, right? Or a marketing data or an HR data. They are responsible for building the plumbing system. But oftentimes is the case that they have to model the data and they don't know the answer to all the questions, and they end up delivering the wrong product at the end of the day. And that's purely because of the disconnect between business and IT. And that's why you would have seen that patterns like data as a product concept came in, the patterns like data mesh came in, federated governance concepts kind of have principles in them that in a team that builds a data product, you should have cross-functional roles where you would have people from the business working.
I think, the time is now that these things are done with a sense of urgency, because if every business is in a competitive space, there are definitely competitors who are trying these out, getting their business teams and technical teams together on closed-ended outcomes to do more. So clearly all businesses need to be in this direction. Sandipan, thank you so much. It's been fascinating to have you here, share your insights with all of us.
First of all, thank you very much for having me. I know that we have a lot of interesting discussions even outside podcast. So love talking to you all the time. Love the business that you are doing and the product that you are building. It's really interesting. I have been in touch with you on your journey, and the way you're evolving is really, really inspiring as well. So thank you for having me.
Thank you.
In terms of call to action, I think leaders should focus on building communities internally. And product companies should focus on building communities internally and externally, right? So I think external communities for products are really crucial. In terms of community building, let's talk about the internal. I think leaders should focus on how to move the participation rate in communities to as far as they can, because usually communities, from my experience in running communities, participation is usually low from members, and that's the main root cause behind that is we tend to run one too many events in communities and then just open up a forum, an interest channel to talk about topics. But we have to move beyond that, beyond the training, to creating collaborative workspaces for different functions to come together and create stuff.
Yep.
And then take those successes, share that story with your organization so that people are encouraged to do that.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sandipan.
Thank you, Sanjay.